Good morning, guys. I wanted to read you a scripture this morning out of 1 John. You, I'm sure, know the background of John's writings. John was in his 90s when he wrote 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John, as well as the book of Revelation. And imagine being John. You walked with Jesus, you sat and listened to him, and yet now you're the only surviving of the original apostles, certainly. And let's face it, everyone around you hasn't been able to experience what you have. And yet John's relationship with the Lord 30, now 60 years later, is as vibrant as it has ever been. He writes in chapter 1 about, what I have in the Lord, what I feel and touch, what I've had with him, I want to share with you so that you might know him as well. And so when John writes these epistles, he's writing to encourage children of God that haven't seen the Lord as he did, but yet loves the Lord as he does. And so he seeks to encourage them. And one of the things he writes here in 1 John chapter 2, verse 29 is this. He said, if you know that he is righteous, you know that everyone who practices righteousness is born of him. What John says here to a third generation or fourth generation church is certainly rings true for us. And that is what the scripture has taught for a long time, that man becomes like his God. If you walk with God, if you know God, you become more like him. If you worship an idol, or you bow your knee to something that is lifeless and can't produce life, you become that way as well. And so John writes here, if we know that the Lord is righteous, he's holy, he's good, he's filled with love, then you and I should become more like him as we grow in our knowledge of him. You should be more like Jesus this week than you were last week. You should be more like Jesus next month than you are this month. And John watches that all happen around him, and he realizes with all of the years that he's put in walking with the Lord, he's seen the changes that God has brought into his life. And so here's a good verse to remember this morning. How is your understanding of the Lord and his love for you showing up in your life? Are you becoming more like the Lord that you serve, the one that you love? Is it becoming more clear and more obvious? It's a good thing to measure our growth, because he does want us to grow up in all things. I remember someone saying, as I listened to these verses years ago by someone, I forget who it was, but they said, as they were talking about these verses, I'm trying to stand tall by the door frame. I'm trying to measure up to what God has done in my life. And so I hope that you'll be able to do that this week as well. Stand tall by the door frame. Stand next to Jesus, because if he's righteous, you know him, then you'll become more like him. And everyone will be drawn to him because they'll see him in your life. May the Lord bless you this week.